Welcome to Gemcast Live today. We are going to be having some fun today reading a story. This is actually a short story from our buddy Elmir, aka the Arkham of Omega, version 2. He basically told us right here that he wants to preface the story as something that was originally written for the HFY subreddit. Now, I don't know what the HFY subreddit is. That ham
R
for.
RHFY is like if you want to serialize your story on Reddit, like RHFY is it's humanity, fuck yeah. So that's
Oh,
literally what it stands for. And like you could just drop your story. It's funny thing is like you get more views there. Like people will go like, yeah, I got like 3,000 views like for the Royal Road stories. You're gonna get 3,000 views for chapter one, like over there. But they like don't really comment. It's like they'll like, you know what I'm saying? But like you could use it. People like authors say they get Patreon on there. I mean, I don't know what you have to do to get Patreon on there, but like, yeah, it's like a serialization subreddit, and it's got like different levels of success for different people.
oh, well, that's kind of how most things are, different levels of success for most people. I'm sure because a ham is probably posting some sweet, juicy pictures of some pork sizzling in pineapple juice. I'm pretty sure it's why
Pork
that.
on the
Yeah.
fork.
Oh, ooh. Oh, oh. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Pork on the fork. That's what we're talking about right here, folks. Well, but anyway. Anyway, guys, we just wanted to preface that right ahead. And this is, like I said, this is a one-shot story, which is actually kind of interesting because, I mean, anytime we get to do a one-shot, there's no wondering what happens next. But if you guys don't know, Ham also has a over 1,000-page novel, I believe, on Royal Road himself, and that'll be extra cool. So let's get some pork on the fork and let's read this story. Amix yawned as Inspector Valkor finished his sanctimonious prefacing, and finally pressed the play button. What he saw was quite an unusual holograph. It wasn't three-dimensional at all. It was like a moving painting, a relic of a darker age for artists where their creations were imprisoned in a cell of only 2 dimensions. As someone who dabbled in art, Amix was quite intrigued by what he saw. It showed a cartoon of heroes battling all sorts of ogres, imps, and demons with magical powers. One fashioned what looked like a dull saber from his hand, consisting purely of magical force, and used it to hack his way through a horde of demons. Another blasted waves of energies at enemies from a distance. The clip changed. This one now showed 2 men battling each other as they soared through the air. One man was clearly on a disadvantage, and his opponent smugly dealt him the final blow, only for the man to block his attack. His appearance had changed dramatically, and now his body was literally radiating with power. The clip changed. This time it showed a magician who dilated the space-time around himself so he could kill his opponent without fear of reprisal, until his opponent's head turned and looked back at him. Another clip. 2 magicians channeled their arcane energies and fired off beams of raw energy that reminded him of an Uxulian battle cruiser's particle guns. The beams clashed, turning into a shoving match and of pure destructive energy. The next clip showed 2 warrior magicians in a battle that left him breathless. Every time he thought one was fatally wounded, the warrior magician would suddenly smirk or make some witty remark, then crumble into dust, revealing that he had merely struck an illusion. After several twists and turns, the scene suddenly rewinds back to the first clash of short swords, revealing that all this time one of them was running simulations in his head. Armed with this knowledge, the actual fight ended in a few strokes, with not a spell cast. In another clip, a cartoonish companion dispensed conveniently relevant items, though his friend often misused them to hilarious results. In another clip, a knight battled the Demon King. At first, the hero's strikes and magic attacks were futile, with the Demon King revealing his repertoire of spells that nullified the attacks. Yet as the fight progressed, more and more injuries were accruing. To his horror, the Demon King realized that the hero's magic was acting like a bug in a programming. That the syntax of spells was he was defending himself with created contradictions, which in turn increased his vulnerability. The next clip was more grounded, but still highly fictionalized. A man is killed through means of foul play. A probable suspect is found, but the young protagonist, acting like a commissioner of law, produces evidence that not only exonerates the suspect but reveals the true culprit. Another showed two fierce warriors engaging in mortal combat in an arena. The injuries depicted were graphic and debilitating, surely. Yet somehow both combatants powered through the pain and gruesome injuries until one finally collapsed. "Do you understand the implications now, Doctor?" the little inspector asked him. "No, I don't, Inspector," Amix replied, his scaly skin adopting the annoyed green hue. "What's a few museum pieces of non-hollow movies have to do with anything? Tell me, do the subjects in the holographs you see resemble Subject 8832's species?" "Yes, I would say apart from the fantastical element, those are his species." Imix slouched over. You're quite correct, Doctor." "All right, so they're not museum pieces. They're just cat-hoed two-piece, liquefied crystal, actually. Or in some cases, near-microscopic diode arrays." Now you gave Subject 8832 regular doses of Aranicula 52, as well as implanted on him a psychic, The little inspector glared at the long name on the datapad and frowned. "You attached a psychotic enabling device on him, correct?" Imix sighed. "Are you seriously suggesting that Subject 8832's first thoughts are to emulate those movies? What is he, some kind of delinquent youngling? Regularly sneaking into mandling fantasy pods and skipping school?" "No, Doctor. That's regular, easily accessible broadcast material from 8832's homeworld. Anyone in their youngling state has been exposed to those broadcasts." Imix waved a hand at Vault 12's untouched, undamaged door. "Then he should have escaped. Where's the holes in the wall?" Valcor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing accusingly. "What makes you think he's still there?" It took several minutes to disengage the locks, and the door finally opened to reveal an empty stasis chamber. "I should tell you something about the human psyche and their zeitgeist, Doctor. Teleportation. It's a very, very common concept." "That doesn't make sense. How can such a primitive species have a concept for—" "Humans do not make sense. You're the scientist here. You have a better inkling on this quantum technology crap, and therefore all of its limitations, if any. You're going to help us track him down and extract the device, all without him knowing it." "That's impossible. First of all, even if we do succeed in disarming it, I'll be ruined. I'll be exposed as someone who brought an illegal specimen from a no-go world." "At least, there'll be a jail for you, Doctor." The inspector pressed the play button again, and this time, what the next clip showed him was so horrifying that his mind had blanked out several times. He saw spores. He saw the addled perception of a warped mind from an existentially dreadful parasite. He saw people react to a glimpse of an unspeakable horror before their minds collapsed. He saw entire worlds condemned to a hell of becoming a single, suffering entity, unable to even scream in the eternal horror he was thrust in. He saw gods and devils, constructs of blind faith given flesh. There are darker things given form by human minds. End of story.
Okay, so if anybody has questions, let's get them out so he could start like working on them, and then we'll go from there. I will say this, like, I thought we were going to like human mind being able to teleport. Like maybe that is what happened. Like, that's what I got from this. That was kind of cool.
You know, short stories are always very interesting whenever it comes down to it because you have this opportunity to really build a world and then destroy it all in one go, because there's not really opportunity to really build beyond the individual scope. So whenever you have a story like this where you're left with a lot of questions afterwards, like I'm left with a lot of questions. I kind of like that. Yeah, like the what happens next. And I guess it's kind of a question mark of thought of, do we just decimate the earth? Is humanity beyond scary? Um, I enjoy that kind of stuff. All right, we have a comment here. It's about an alien that gave a regular human a device that gave him powers, not knowing how imaginative humans can be, for better or worse. So that makes sense because apparently you're going with the sci-fi theory that I hear a lot of times of humanity is. This is a very interesting theory that I hear sometimes, by the way, about the thought process of humanity being a race of imagination, whereas you have advanced species elsewhere that are more ant-like and robotic and without individual thought processing. We see that a lot in sci-fi universes where,
It's like it's even like to some extent human.
yeah,
Like there are like cultures that are not hive mind, obviously, but like the concept of individuality that like an American, for example, would have, or some Western type people would have, is not present to the same extent.
I do see that. And then also, I always love when I see that because it's kind of like it's a very Western thought as well because of the I don't mean to bring religion into this, but there's the Imago Dei factor that you see in the Abrahamic faiths of that man is made in the image of God or in the likeness of God, and therefore we can act or think like God, and that's a common concept in those faiths and those faith backgrounds in Western thought. That is a foundation of Western thought is the ability to think beyond. And so when you see these stories like that, it's very interesting because of just the fear of imagination or the fear of where our minds can take us being our own downfall. This was a common concept and thought, especially during the atomic age, when we were creating these giant bombs that could wipe out entire cities in a second. And so it's really cool to see this kind of put into words, I guess, right here. Ham. Is this kind of where you're going with things, or am I totally off base here in thought process?
Well, this is just to get to the question that was out there. Butler asked, "Am I correct when it sounds like the aliens illegally captured the human, so they're in deep shit?" Just clarifying, and Elmir did say yes. In Humanity Fuck Yeah stories, Earth's usually considered a no-go world. But to get back to your point, yeah, like the kind of my thought process was, um, so the aliens have the human and like especially like once they actually said the teleportation and we had I still not exact like we like they were showing like basically like I don't know if they were thoughts that were captured or if it was more like a holographic or non-holographic video, but like I was thinking that like the human with the imagination like teleported themselves somehow out of the cell. That's what I was, because like how like going back to Eastern thoughts, like, like we create our own universe with our own thoughts type thing, like
Yeah.
that type of manifestation. That's kind of like where my mind went.
And I did catch that. It did seem like it was some pop culture stuff. Like one sounded like a Star Wars clip. Another sounded like some things that you would see in like a Count of Monte Cristo or something of that nature. And yeah, let's go back. Let's go back through those clips then. So let's play this little game real fast, and we'll play a little game with this. So the first clip that we have is Magical powers, orcs, demons, a cartoon of these. Um, and I'm thinking this is like 1970s Lord of the Rings, like 1970s Lord of the Rings. Because
With the saber.
with the saber, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, he says one of them is Yu Yu Hakusho. What? Oh, with cartoons, ogres, old fashioned. Oh, so you're talking about Hiei. This is Hiei, basically battling through. Oh, wait, what? Dude, I love Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh, the blasted waves of energy at the very end. Gotcha. That's where it's Yu Yu Hakusho. That's where it's Yu Yu Hakusho. Loved me some Yu Yu Hakusho though. By the way, my favorite anime of all time. A mulberry is a tree. Kuwabara is a man. I love that speech so much. All right, next clip we have two men battle each other as they soared through the air. One man clearly had a disadvantage. This one's got to be Attack of the Clones, right? It's got to be like Attack of the Star Wars. That's what I'm. It's Dragon Ball. His appearance dramatically changes about. Oh, okay. This is the last sentence is where it gives it away. Radiating with yeah, dramatically changed appearance. I got to read the whole entire thing before I guess, 'cause this is getting me every single time. I'm 0 for 2, guys. I'm 0 for 2. All right, third clip. It showed a magician who dilated space-time around himself so he could kill his opponent without fear of reprisal, until his opponent's head turned and looked at him. I have no clue about this one. But he's used. Yeah, chat. You guys can guess, by the way. Ooh, this third one is getting me. Superman versus Batman. That could be it, but it's against space time. That sounds like something that you would see in like one of the Avengers movies or whatever. But it was JoJo. Okay, so he's using anime for every single one. You got to say anime. You can't say pop culture. You got to say anime because that's a very specific set of pop culture. Okay.
The next one I feel is one that's very common.
All right.
Like you would have, I don't know which one he specifically used, but like the idea of like magicians firing energy at each other and it being that like shoving match of energy. Like
Well,
I think you've seen that in like I feel like growing up, yeah, I saw
yeah.
that in like so many different things.
Well, that was straight up the trope in
Lord of the
shonen.
Rings had
Well, this is very much a trope that was happening all throughout shonen anime for sure. I mean, this happens in Yu Yu Hakusho. It happens in Dragon Ball Z. It happens in, I think it happens in Naruto even, and it happens in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It happens in pretty much all of them. But yeah, this is a pretty generic one. I'm not hating, by the way. It's just kind of interesting. I'm gonna skip that one unless you just want to tell us what it is. And then the last one, this next one.
no, no. There's another one after. There's a bunch of them.
Oh my gosh,
There's a bunch more.
we could be here for a while. So, two warrior magicians in a battle that left him breathless. Every time he thought one was fatally wounded, it suddenly smirk and crumble into the dust, revealing that he had merely struck an illusion. An illusion. Okay, this is interesting. After several twists and turns, the scene suddenly reminds back to the first clash of swords. Oh, this one has gotta be Kojiro Sasaki in Record of Ragnarok. Is that it? Is this one Kojiro Sasaki? Because he talks about killing illusions or whatnot with no actual fighting happen, and then it reveals that it's all been in this guy's mind. So I'm thinking this is literally Kojiro Sasaki versus Poseidon in Record of Ragnarok.
He's typing a pretty long one now.
I know he's just trying to give us an entire paragraph over here. How dare you, Mr. Paragraph? Okay, he had two references in mind. First one was from Naruto. The second was from Zautachi. But I saw a kung fu movie that did the same thing with everything with his imagination. Okay, really? Okay, that's interesting. All right, all right. Yeah, if you watch Record of Ragnarok, this very much is the exact thing that happens in there. Shadow fighting.
I do like that trope, like the like where it really um stands out to me is if anybody saw the movie The Village. It's M. Night Shyamalan. Like it's like this movie about like I don't know exactly when it's set in like in the beginning of like 1800s or 1700s or whatever, and they're just like that type. But there's I'm not gonna like give the whole plot away, but at the very end, it's revealed that like it's a bunch of like people in modern society who had gone to like psych treatment for a certain type of trauma, and they all like went out into the woods and like started like a society together. Like, and that's all. That's at the very end. I like stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
you think it's one thing and it revealed to be another.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking about where the veils pull back and it's totally not what it appeared to be is what you're talking about.
Or somebody's schizophrenic, or like, or Identity's another one like that. If you've never seen the movie Identity, you should see the movie Identity.
Well,
It's
well,
it's
if you want to
a,
see if you want to see a schizophrenic person, just go down to your local homeless shelter. You get plenty of entertainment that way.
yeah, but it's not nearly as clear, and
I'm just being silly.
The
I'm being
next one
silly.
that he has, I'm interested in because, like, I guess somebody's pulling out a bunch of different items and the other person's misusing them. Like, I doubt he used the Little Mermaid, but like, that's what that reminds me of.
You know, going off of anime, like this sounds more like Wile E. Coyote almost, but it's not. But it's involves a friend, and so he says it's Doraemon. Okay, I've never heard of that one. Good night. All right, in this one, a knight battled a demon king. At first, the hero's strikes and magics were futile, with the demon king revealing his repertoire of spells that nullified the attacks. Yet as they progressed more and more, injuries occurring to his horror, the demon king realized that the hero's magic was acting like a bug in the programming. This one, because it says bug in the programming, I'm thinking it's like it sounds like the end of Sword Art Online. Okay, no guessing on this one since it was also sort of generic. Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, now this one was from some isekai stories where the main character games the world system in order to defeat an undefeatable bad guy. Okay. So this one's actually referenced in his own personal longer story. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, so I just want to say thank you for giving us your story on this, and if we don't have any other further questions, we're gonna close out the recording, but then move into our side game, guys. If you guys want to
Okay,
request
so
to
everybody requests to speak.